Welcome back to the Foul Trouble Podcast. Today, Patrick and I are doing our top 10 shooting guards and some observations about, the NBA season 2 weeks in. Let's get into Foul Trouble.
I have just been having way too much fun with this NBA season so far. I feel like everyone is still like they look like they're playing on ice, but it still feels like these games are like gonna matter. I like that they loaded it up with like the interconference. Like the Suns are only allowed to play teams from Los Angeles right now.
Isn't that the only teams they play? I feel like the Suns play the Clippers and Lakers on like a rotating schedule every week of the season.
Yeah, they pretty much. They'll get some Warriors games in there as well, but as long as they're from California, it's okay.
Yeah. So on every week I make a document of like my notes for the episode, and I titled my document "The Episode I Brag About My Predictions and Also Acknowledge That the First Week of the Season Means Nothing."
Yeah.
So I don't know if I should, but I mean the Celtics still title favorites. Yeah.
Still feeling pretty good about them.
Yeah, I don't like
shooting 53s a game.
I don't like to look at like rate stats or any of those like on a 4-game sample size for obvious reasons, but like just it's funny right now. Per 100 possessions, the Celtics are outscoring the other team by 23.7 points.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think they're going to keep that up, but like I could see them having like a historically high point differential.
Absolutely, because they just like bury teams.
Yeah.
And the games that they're going to lose this year, they're probably going to shoot not well from 3, but it's going to be super, super razor thin close.
Yeah, and I think their closest game so far was either 6 or 8 points, and it might have been to like the Pistons.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Hey,
we were both pretty low on the Clippers. Clippers have looked pretty good thus
pretty
far.
Decent so far. We'll see if they can keep that up. I think that might be one of the fluke teams. Okay, I got to talk about some other things. Westbrook, man, the Nuggets. We did an episode. It was the one episode you missed over the summer highlighting our worries about the Nuggets. Okay, so Westbrook had 22 points last night, but the 3 games before that, 2 of 10, 0 of 8, 3 of 7, with a negative 38-point differential.
Yeah, I mean, it's about... We're getting close to like panic button time for the Nuggets. Definitely. They're coming off a...
Wait, can I hit the panic button? They can't win a game unless Nikola Jokic drops a 40-point triple-double. They're bad.
And it gets to overtime every single time. They had a back-to-back against the Raptors and the Nets, which for a West Coast team is not the easiest back-to-back ever, but it's early in the season and they needed overtime to beat both teams. And Jokic, like, to your point, had to be just incredible last night. He had 29, 18 rebounds, and 16 assists.
Yeah, we'll probably do a Nuggets deep dive later. And another thing, Lakers pretty good. 3-1. They've played only good teams so far.
I gotta say, like after watching what I've seen from the Lakers, like I'm starting to see it.
Anthony Davis.
I mean, if Anthony Davis plays like this, it makes it really hard. Just like any team to play against them. I am still concerned about specifically their big depth. I mean, in the Lakers-Suns game, the last game that they played, Lakers went up huge in that first quarter, and then Jackson Hayes checks in, and you'd think he's Yusuf Nurkic. They just like are bleeding points left and right.
Yeah, I think something we both missed the mark on when we did our Eastern Conference kind of preview. I don't know if it's too early to call this, especially when I say the first week means nothing, but I already feel like I'm going to take the L here. We kind of anointed the Pacers as like this might be the surprise regular season team. And I was kind of down on this team all year, poo-pooing them all year. I think the Orlando Magic are good.
I mean, I think
like if we were to redo that, we would say Magic every time we said Pacers and vice versa.
Yeah,
Magic are good.
I still think the Pacers are going to be good.
Same.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way we could have guessed that Paolo was going to have like this mini leap that he's had so far this season. Everyone knows he scored 50 points earlier this week, but just he looks like LeBron freaking in the start of this season.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's kind of easy to forget because the East was so tightly packed, as was the West last year. But the Magic were like in play for like, was it the 3 seed by like the last week of the season? I genuinely think they have a good shot at the 2 seed this year.
Totally. And not only Paolo, but like Jalen Suggs, who like we all think of him as this all-world defender, shooting 40% from 3 to start out the season. If that's something that can sustain, like that just means, everyone is kind of worries about Franz Wagner. You don't really need him to be like this insane offensive producer if Suggs is shooting like that. KCP is still shooting like KCP. I mean, I think Magic fans should be hyped.
Yeah, I would be hyped if I was a Magic fan. All right, shall we get to our top 10 shooting guards?
Let's get to our top 10 shooting guards.
So, as a note for this series, we are strictly ranking these guys based on the position they play as per their team's depth chart. So for this episode, for example, Kyrie Irving, who most people think of as a point guard, is a shooting guard next to Luka Doncic. Devin Booker is actually going to be our one exception for the entire series since he's listed as the Suns' small forward, but Patrick and I made the executive decision to make Bradley Beal the team's small forward just because I don't think anyone really cares about where Bradley Beal ends up on any of these lists.
Hey, he was guarding LeBron for like the majority of the game last game against the Lakers, so that would indicate he might be the small forward.
He's a small forward.
He's definitely small.
Yeah, so we've got Booker here. Is there anyone else of note that you feel like we're like Mikal Bridges? I think most people think of him as a 3 or maybe even a 4 on some teams. He is the Knicks shooting guard.
Yeah, he's the Knicks shooting guard. I think we had a little discussion of like the Bulls situation. We decided Levine was more of their small forward, so Kobe White was like in contention for this list. No spoilers.
Oh, I fucked up.
Okay.
We did have that discussion. I apologize.
That's okay.
We're going to try our best. Obviously, this matters much more for the top guys because when we talk about players like, for example, on the NBA's GM survey, Luka Doncic got like 40% of the vote at 3 different positions. And we're just trying to avoid that, where we're going to be like, so Luka's the best point guard, the second best small. We're trying to avoid Tatum, being on both our small forward and our power forward lists.
Now I'm trying to think where Zach LaVine would be in my list. We'll
worry about it
cross
later.
that road when we get there.
Okay.
Who did you have at 10? Who did you have in contention for 10?
Zach LaVine.
You had Zach LaVine? Okay.
Who we're not doing.
That's fair. I guess if I had Zach LaVine...
I'll just nick Zach LaVine. He's going to be in next episode.
Yeah, if I had Zach LaVine, he would probably be at 10. I had Jalen Green in my 10th slot.
Okay.
This is... there was a lot of ways you could go with this 10th, or at least that I could have went with the 10th slot. I considered Kobe White. Then I looked at how he performed in the playoffs last year, only scored 8 points per game. I know it was against like a loaded team, but that's just like not enough
good. Yeah,
to
not
get
good.
on this list. I looked at Tyler Hero, spoiler alert. He did not make my 10.
Did not make my
top
10 either. Did not make my 10 either.
I think he's just too injury prone.
A little too inefficient.
Yeah, inefficient and just not consistent
Yep.
as a scorer. And so I ended up going with Jalen Green. One, because he has just been like incredible to start this season. 28 points per game on 41% from 3. But looking backward, last year he averaged 20 points a game. The year before, 22. Like, this guy is incredible at getting to the rim. Can really like draw a lot of fouls as well. He is in the 88th percentile when drawing shooting fouls compared to other combo guards like Jalen Green. And really, like, it's me kind of buying his March last year where he averaged 27 points a game over 15 games in March. 6 rebounds. He's has some pretty good positional size and like very elite athleticism. I believe in this guy, and I think if he can get his 3-point shot to some last year, the last 2 years he shot 33%. If he can get that up to like a 36%, and this guy becomes like an easy 24 to 27 point per game guy. And I think the like reins for driving the Rockets offense is kind of up for grabs, and I kind of see him grabbing it.
Yeah, Jalen Green was a guy who I had just missing. I guess I'll have to stack him against Zach LaVine, who's not even at the right position. But no, I mean, I just feel like the reason I had Jalen Green right outside is just the efficiency. He's just not shooting well enough for the amount he shoots. His usage rate's at like 28%. I'm going to use pretty much 99% stats from last season and probably
Me too. This was the one guy where it kind of leaked in.
Which makes sense, though, to do it with this guy because he's only 22.
Yeah, he's
He's so young. And no, it feels like he's been in the NBA for a while. He's still so young.
And
so
coming from G League Ignite, like that's a weird place to come from.
Yeah, so he still has a lot of weight to put on his frame, which I think will help. He's just uber athletic. I think we talked about it like 2 weeks ago, but he had a finish like where his head looked like it was above the rim on like a reverse layup.
Yeah, he's so sick.
Yeah, he's really dynamic. I really do think if he can get his 3-point shot right, like it'll be a huge weapon for the Rockets. The reason why neither of us have him higher than this is just like he's not creating for others enough. The efficiency's not quite there.
And he's not like a game changer from any other point. Like he's not a great steals guy. Like I think he could later in his career be like a really good like rebounding guard, which he's not like quite there yet. But the one guy really, in my opinion, in the NBA from the 2-guard perspective that like I could see in the next couple of years, like really jumping on this list.
Yeah, I could definitely see Jalen Green at the end of this season being as high as number 5. But
yeah.
Okay, who'd you have at number 9?
At number 9, I had CJ McCollum.
Okay. This is where the position is getting wonky. Is he not their point guard?
Dejounte Murray is their point guard.
I have Dejounte Murray. We have the Pelicans backcourt. This is off to a great start.
We really communicated well.
Which is hilarious because we've been sending each other text messages being like, for this team to clarify, this is the point, this is the 2.
It gets really hard with this new age NBA bullshit.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
What happened to our old positions?
Okay, so we've got the Pelicans backcourt at number 9.
Yeah, we got the Pelicans backcourt. I mean, 2 different guys. If you want to lay out the Dejounte Murray case, we didn't talk about him last week at all.
Yeah, so Dejounte Murray, he's a pretty good like self-creating mid-range shooter. I think he gives an offense a nice floor as a guy you can kind of run the pick and roll, get okay offense. The reason I have him so low on this list is he doesn't like to shoot threes often, and he's not great at shooting threes or free throws. He doesn't get fouled often, so he's kind of this like low-end offensive floor raiser, but it's kind of like, and I think this is where DeJounte struggled in helping Atlanta, is like he's not quite good enough to be the guy who's handling the ball all the time in terms of his like pass to shooting ratio, his shooting diet, his shooting efficiency, but he's like not really an off the ball player. So he's kind of this weird tweener where he's like super suited to be a 6-man.
Yeah. Can go off like on any given game and has like elite defensive tools,
but doesn't
that we haven't seen
since
him use since San Antonio.
Yeah.
And of course, like that Atlanta situation was like rotten from the beginning.
Yeah.
I would have probably put him maybe one spot higher if I had put him in instead of CJ. Basically, the argument for CJ is this dude is still like a top shooter in the NBA. Shot 45% from the field, 42% from 3 on 8 attempts a game last year. Still averaging 20 points a game. Is sneaky like a pretty good facilitator for like a true 2, in my opinion. And in like a weird New Orleans situation where there aren't a lot of creators around him, and it's kind of easy for the defenses to like zero in on CJ a lot. And for an older player, it's tough, like getting hounded 48 feet. And I think we saw that. We saw that in the playoffs last year when they were playing OKC. It got progressively harder and harder for CJ. He doesn't really get to the rim as much anymore, but he's such an elite jump shooter. It doesn't really matter so much. And he's a really low turnover guy, which like I feel like as a baseline is just really, really valuable. And I kind of thought like, I think CJ is overpaid. Like that's just it. But if I'm looking at all the 2 guards in the league and I'm saying like, if all these guys had the same contract and I'm trying to win the championship this year, I think you can do a lot worse than CJ McCollum. He's just very reliable, even to this day.
Yeah, I think CJ would be a better fit on a team where he's playing. I feel like CJ would be a great point guard for like a team with like, like a point forward. Which Zion is trying to be, but isn't quite fully there yet.
Yeah, if you put him next to like a Luka Doncic or something.
Yeah, he'd take off. Okay, maybe at 8 we'll have our first player that's on both lists.
No. I mean, definitely, I would be shocked if you didn't have this guy on your list.
I have Desmond Bane.
I have Austin Reaves.
Okay, I had Reaves at 7.
Okay, I have Desmond Bane at 5.
Okay, wow. Yeah, so Bane, 43% on his catch and shoots. His shot diet is pretty much all assisted threes and rim attack, so I like his shot diet as a supporting player. Despite the wingspan limitations, he's a surprisingly good rim finisher. The issue with Desmond Bane is the mid-range is really, really bad. I think that's largely because of the wingspan limitation, and he just doesn't get fouled, like, ever.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I think, kind of a product of just his role on this team. Like, he is 100% a spacer for Ja Morant, and we didn't see that last year at all. But, I mean, the reason I had Desmond Bane so high is just, like, we've really seen him do it to a very effective level in the playoffs. Last time we saw him in the playoffs, he's averaging 23 points a game, just being really effective. He's so strong. I love his strength. He's not a guy, like, even though he's a little short, doesn't have a great wingspan. That's why he slipped in the draft, but not a guy that you can pick on in the playoffs. And he's just like a really, really incredible shooter, which hyper efficient, especially from like 3, shooting for 39, 41, 44 over the course of his career. These guys are all really close.
Yeah, and I think Desmond Bane is a good defensive player as well. Like, I think this. What's interesting about this list is, like, a lot of the guys toward this bottom of this list, like for me, Desmond Bane, I know you have him as high as 5, and I guess we'll parse into why you have him above who you have at 6 and 7. But, like, I love that if you're not the 1A guy, you know that you're better at your catch and shoot attacks. You're better at being the supporting player, which, like, for example, the reason Zach LaVine, who I did the research for thinking he was a 2 guard, but just why I like Bane, more than a guy like Zach LaVine is Zach LaVine has this weird thing where he's like worse at catch and shoot than like self-creation, but his self-creation isn't good enough to be a 1A or a 2A guy. So it puts him in this weird zone where it's like you're really only suited to be a 6-man.
Yeah.
Whereas Bane can kind of elevate a starting lineup or be a good player off the bench, I think.
Yeah, and I think he can be like a good player for like a not great team in a way that even some of these guys below him haven't proved that they could do. And I think the reason why I have him over a guy like Mikal Bridges is just like, I believe in his scoring, like from a creation standpoint, just a little bit more than a guy like Mikal Bridges. And we've seen that like in a playoff scenario. And I believe in his scoring more than a guy like Derrick White, if Derrick White is not in like the incredible Celtics infrastructure. And then like we've seen Mikal Bridges, once he gets to the playoffs, like his positional defensive versatility isn't like as effective as you would think it is. Like he's really great. I love that Mikal's a 2 guard now, and we'll get into Mikal more, but he really should be guarding 2 guards, not a guy like Luka Doncic, a guy like LeBron James. And once you get to parsing that stuff, I feel like Desmond Bane's like not that far behind. He's far behind, but not.
No, I had a 8 through 5 was the hardest part of this list for me. At 8, you had Austin Reaves. I had him at 7. If you closed your eyes and I told you none of these guys' names and I just showed you their advanced stats, I think Austin Reaves would go number 1 ahead of a lot of these guys.
Maybe.
So he's 99th and 95th percentile last 2 years in points per shot attempt. He shot 74% at the rim. He shot 48 from mid-range. So he's like a better mid-range shooter than a guy like DeJounte Murray, better than Desmond Bane. His mid-range Patricks are 70% self-created mid-range. This isn't even just like I'm getting spoon-fed by LeBron. This is like I'm creating mid-range shots and hitting them at a really efficient rate. Pick and roll, 1.05 points per possession. That's better than like pretty much all these guys. His percentile finishes and foul drawing, 95th, 100th, and 80th.
Yeah.
This guy's just a monster
at getting to the
efficiency.
Line. Like you saw it in that Suns Lakers game earlier this week, how multiple times he was drawing fouls just like going around and pulling up on the pick and roll and shooting threes. And I feel like he hits it every single time.
Yeah,
He's such an incredible shooter, a great playmaker. I think a much better playmaker than he gets credit for.
Yeah, like he actually has great pick and roll chemistry with Davis. And I think people forget when the Lakers kind of made that run, not last year, but 2 years ago, LeBron was out for a lot of it. A lot of it was just Reaves like running the whole show with Davis.
Yeah, and I think like I've said this for a long time. Like I think if you took Austin Reaves and you just cranked up his usage rate, I think he would be able to score and create like some of the guys at the top of this list. We've just never really been able to see that.
Yeah.
And like you look at his last couple seasons, like last year was the first full year that we really had Austin Reaves and we knew who Austin Reaves was and we knew what we were dealing with. I think especially this season, now that they have JJ Redick, now that Austin Reaves is not in danger of losing his starting job
for no reason,
for no apparent reason, this will be the real season where I feel like we'll get a true taste of like, who is this guy and like how high is Austin Reaves' ceiling?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to, like, I had Austin Reaves when I made the list. I had it at 10, and then I was like, okay, he's better than this guy. He's better than this guy. And I kept throwing him up, but I had to stop at 7 because I want to see it one more year, especially as JJ's featuring him more. I want to see if he can pick up on defense a little bit. And there is a little part of me that's like, the efficiency is almost like too good to be true.
Yeah.
Like, basically all of Austin Reaves' advanced counting stats are like, this is the most efficient player in the whole league. And I'm wondering like how much of that is playing with LeBron and Davis, even though a lot of his mid-range, which is a big part of his shot diet, is self-created. I just want to see it a little bit more.
Another like Austin Reaves thing to like keep tabs on is last year his on-off numbers were like disastrous. Like minus 2.7 points per possession on offense and plus 4.4 points per possession on defense, which is like 17th percentile, really, really, really bad. I don't think that's who Austin Reaves is either. I think he's probably closer to just like league average or slightly below league average. But I mean, the numbers are the numbers. And if we're going to give him so much love for the advanced offensive numbers,
tell the truth too.
We just got to lay that out there. But yeah, I mean, I'm super high on Austin Reaves. I think like no matter what happens with LeBron, him and AD make so much sense together going forward. But I do have questions on the defensive end.
Oh, of course, as you should. And who did you have at 6? Wait, who did you have at 7?
I had Mikal Bridges.
Okay, I had Mikal Bridges at 6.
Okay, cool. And
You had Derrick White at 6?
Yeah, I had Derrick White at 6.
And I had Derrick White at 5.
Okay. Sounds good.
And the reason we're spoiling our list is because of Bane being at 5. So we have the same 5 through 8 in a different order.
Yes.
Okay,
yes, we do.
Awesome.
Okay. Mikal Bridges?
Yeah, so I like that Mikal's, got the length. He's got, good defensive skills. What I like is that Mikal is like often guarding some of the other team's best perimeter guys, and his foul rate is really, really low, which is nice. When you're kind of keeping the other team's star player off the line when you're guarding them, that's a really good skill for a perimeter defender. I think the thing with Mikal is, and this is probably why you have it 7, the self-creation it's okay.
Yeah,
it's not special.
It's come and go, and I think when people saw it in Brooklyn when he had his like just insane, 26 points per game the second half, like post KD trade at the end of the 23 season, people started thinking of Mikal as more than he is.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about Mikal, and like one reason I like it, is like I'm kind of looking at like so Mikal's kind of going back to being a role player, but not really, because the Knicks kind of need his self-creation, but kind of, I don't know, he's in a weird spot career-wise, but like in Phoenix, his assisted 3 rate, so basically every 3 he took was assisted. He took like no unassisted 3s like in 4 seasons. And then in Brooklyn, it's still mostly assisted, but it's down to like 80%, but his shooting percentages like didn't change.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice that as he's gotten older, he's been able to add a little bit of off the dribble juice, a little bit of like, okay, if we need a 3 at the end of the shot clock, I can hoist up a decent look. But it's the overall numbers they're good, but they don't pop, and that's why I have him at 6.
Especially, I mean, like the things that like make Mikal Bridges really special is one, him on the defensive end. Like I think just against any guard in this league, Mikal makes it like close to impossible for you. He's super active off ball, like really one of the special perimeter defenders that we've had in the last 10 to 15 years in the NBA. And the other like underrated thing that Mikal is incredible at is he is an incredible transition scorer, and he's really, really efficient when he gets to the rim. It's just like he doesn't generate that kind of shot a lot.
And his handle, he's kind of got that weird like stiff build to him that I think makes
it's like
it
his
hard.
arms are so long.
Yeah.
It's hard for him to dribble.
Yeah, to have a nice handle. I think, it's going to be hard for him to always be like an elite self-creator. What's nice is his high release point. I know his jump shot's been the point of contention, and it looks a little different this year, but it still has a super high release point that lets him shoot over guys, over closeout defenders.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that like he can sustain some of the mid-range scoring that we saw in his last year with Phoenix and in Brooklyn, in New York. Once he gets a little bit more comfortable, there's really great spacing around him, and he's just like, not to mention, this is the NBA's Iron Man. Like we haven't. Like, he has played 477 straight games. He has not missed one single game.
Although he had the one game he played like 2 minutes and checked out.
There's been a couple games like that, but I don't, from like a guy that watched so much of Mikal's career really, really closely, all of those scenarios are like, the coaches are like, hey, like, please don't play. And he's like, fuck you, I'm playing.
I mean, I like Mikal Bridges. It was one of those weird things where my head was like, I think Austin Reaves, like I look at the numbers and I'm like, I guess Austin Reaves is a much better player, but I just seeing Mikal Bridges' defense, I just feel more comfortable putting him ahead of a guy like Reaves. For me, ahead of a guy like Bane, and definitely ahead of DeJounte Murray.
Yeah. I mean, his defense is that special.
Yeah,
to be honest, and his offense is like, he's had a year where he averaged 23 points per game. Like that's special. That's really high level scoring stuff, and it's not what a great team would ask from him, but in a pinch he can do that. If the Knicks have a year like they did last year where it's like, we have no bodies, like I think Mikal will be a little bit more dependable than guys they were asking to do similar things last year, like a Bogdanovich or a Bojan Bogdanovic. Or Alec Burks or someone like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the last guy we haven't talked about in this grouping is Derrick White, who I had at 5. You had at 6?
I had him at 6.
Yeah, so I think he's the best defender on the list, even ahead of Bridges.
I agree.
And, I was kind of like, okay, if I've got Derrick White at 5, I got to kind of parse between him and Caruso a little bit, because Caruso's the other guy that it's like, hey, he's such a good defensive player and a really nice, off-the-ball three-point shooter. Why is he not being considered? And what I like about everyone on this list, all the way down to like Murray and Levine, is you've got some on-ball juice. You can do something with the ball. You're a top 10 shooting guard. I'm expecting you to have some ball skills. And the problem with Caruso is it's like all off the ball. It's like Caruso has like this sky-high turnover rate that goes up to like 20% some seasons, and it like gets down to like 15. So it's like his good turnover seasons are really bad, which just means Caruso can't handle the ball.
He can't handle the ball, and Derrick White is like a better shooter than him, and I would argue like in some areas of defense, a better defender than Alex Caruso.
Yeah, I mean the shot blocking is real. I think he's the best shot blocking guard since Dwayne Wade.
100%.
He's pretty much always like top 80 percentile in like block percentage his whole career.
Was a cool 100th percentile last year.
Yeah,
block percentage for a guard.
Yeah, and what I like about Derrick White, like a lot too, is like sneaky thing is like he doesn't have a ton of like numbers that going back to his San Antonio. It's kind of weird to analyze Derrick White because it's like his numbers improve as he gets to the Celtics, but he's also getting older as he gets to the Celtics. So it's hard to say how much of that is the team environment, how much of that is him improving. I think it's, if I were to give a percentage, 80% team environment.
Yeah.
But I like that this guy basically goes from like a normal, like a nominally efficient player to like a stupidly sky-high efficient player the moment he gets to the Celtics. Like the way he scaled up his efficiency is super, super impressive. And what I like too is like sneakily like super high foul rate. This guy's getting fouled on a lot of his shots, like way more than all the guys below him on this list other than Reaves. So it's like he's got a little bit like that kind of rugged physicality to him that I think plays well to like the way the game is officiated, especially now. And yeah, I mean, the defense is just incredible. I think he's shown he's the best role player 2 guard in the league.
Yeah, totally agree. He also has like sneaky, a little bit of like creation, can run a pick and roll. I think like better than a guy like Mikal Bridges could.
Yeah, what I like about White too is it's like nominally, I feel like you look at him on the Celtics and people think he's like the fifth option on offense. But what I like about that is like he's still like, I'm going to get my shots up if the defense isn't ready. Like I'm not just waiting around to give the ball back to Jalen and Jason. I'm going to like do something. I'm gonna always be pressuring the defense, which only helps Jason, Jalen, Drew, and all the other guys on the Celtics.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think the biggest thing is he's just like really strong too. Like, I mean, the defense like can't be overrated with Derrick White. He's the kind of guy that like on any team he's gonna start. Like, just he's that effective. He's so malleable, like a great guy to play with, like any kind of superstar, any team. Derrick White fits on really, really well, which I guess you could say for almost all these guys. The only reason I had Bane above him is I just think the like ceiling for him as a scorer is much higher, and I do believe in the defense. Obviously, they're kind of in different realms, but
it's not like Bane is bad.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Bane's pretty good.
Yeah. He's good. Yeah. It's parsing between good and like excellent. Which is gonna be tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now
we have that was the first I guess tier like 1 or tier 5 was like our 9 and 10. Tier 4 was 8 through 5.
I guess.
And now tier 3 was that, and now tier 2 is the Kyrie Irving tier.
Yes. That's what I was trying to like figure out how to say. Like Kyrie, I mean, I'm sure you guys all know
is good.
The 3 dudes who are above him, but Kyrie is like incredible.
Yeah.
He was the number 2 player on a championship like
level team.
Finalist team last year. I mean, still. Yeah, career 39% from 3, 47% field goal guy for like a really, really long career jump shooter. Like those are incredible numbers.
Kyrie is like efficiency king. He averaged 25.6 points per game, 5.2 assists, 5.0 rebounds. Oh, wow. I totally wrote this stat down wrong. On my notes, it says 27.5% effective field goal percentage, which is obviously not right. But to parse it a little bit more, Kyrie shot 51% from the mid-range. That's like smoking, just incredible. That's like KD realm, Booker realm. 41% from 3. He's just super hyper efficient. He's really good playing off of Luka. He's become a much better passer and especially better connective passer as he's gotten older. The reason I don't have Kyrie in the realm of the top 3 guys we're going to talk about is I think defensively it's lacking a little bit. I think we've seen when Kyrie is like really, really locked in and he's like, I hate this guy. Like James Harden, he can really lock in and be an effective.
Use his length really effectively.
Be an effective isolation defender. But I think off the ball defense, all that kind of lacks. Also just it seems like sometimes like Kyrie just can completely shoot himself out of a game. We saw that in the finals a couple times where it's just like, what is going on, man? He can't make a shot.
Yeah. Also doesn't get to the line very well anymore. I mean, never really did, but like 55th percentile last season out of like combo guards in shooting fouls drawn. So not exactly like what you're dying for
and
a secondary scorer.
And as good as the handle is, he's not getting to the rim at some crazy high rate. I think he was like only like 14 or 15% of attempts were at the rim last season.
Yeah.
So he's not a guy who's like actually using this handle to generate like a ton of rim looks at this point. But the jump shot is just so good.
Yeah, it's legendarily good. He's Kyrie Irving. The whole Kyrie Irving experience is like, I think this is kind of the peak era of the Kyrie Irving experience right now.
I think Kyrie deserves credit for like sneakily getting better like every year of his career. And I think it is one of those funny things where people were like, he peaked in the Cavs. It's like, no, he was actually way better in Brooklyn than he was in Cleveland.
Yeah. No, and it's like he had like amazing playoff series, but I think like he's so much more consistent now. Of course, he's not like he can also not like add in certain areas of this list as other guys can, like pretty much a non-existent rebounder. Like you said, like some of these guys can really like protect the rim, or at least like assist their teams in protecting the rim, especially looking at the guys above him, like an Anthony Edwards, even right below a Derrick White. Those guys, their athleticism can just like help them add to a team in that way that I just don't think Kyrie can at this point in his career. But
and I think it's also important to remember, because I think with some of these efficiency stats, I think people are going to be like, why is he not up there with the guys you might have in the top three? And I think it's important to remember Kyrie is playing next to Luka, whereas these three guys we have ahead of him, with the exception of maybe one, are like always the number one threat that the other team is worried about.
Yeah.
All right, so who did you have at 3?
I had Donovan Mitchell.
Okay, I had Donovan Mitchell at 1.
Really?
I did.
Wow. Okay, well, we can't bury that lead. Why did you have Donovan Mitchell at 1?
Okay, so obviously the top 3, Mitchell's, Edwards, and Booker.
Yep.
Okay, so of the 3, Mitchell is by far the most self-reliant of all of them. 3-pointers, Mitchell is the best shooter of the 3, 38% on 44% self-created shots. For example, Booker's down to 39. Edwards is also at 44, but he's at 36%, as is Booker. At the rim, Mitchell's at 67% finishing on 75% self-creation. Booker's at 70% on 54% self-creation. Edwards is at 69 on 67% self. So when it comes to like generating the offense, like Mitchell is in by far the worst spacing environment of these 3 guys, and he's doing it by far by himself the most, and he's still right there efficiency-wise. I just think when it comes to creating a good shot, Mitchell's kind of statistically proven he's the best scorer of the 3. Now, Booker is the best mid-range shooter of the lot. It goes Book, then Ant, then Mitchell by like a hair on each of those. As it pertains to passing, I think Booker is a hair better than Mitchell, and I think both of them are a lot better than Edwards.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
But really what it comes down to is when I look back at the playoffs, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, 28.7 points per game, including a 50 bomb in round 1. He's just spectacular. We talked about how good of a defender Derrick White and Drew Holiday were in the first 2 episodes. I mean, he just torched them. 3 games against the Celtics, 31.7 points per game, 51% shooting. I think his pull-up 3-point shooting is easily the best of these 3 guys, and I think his way to space and create offense in such like a horrible spacing environment makes him the best scorer of these 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, I see it like Donovan Mitchell is an incredible scorer. I think the reason why I had Donovan Mitchell just below these 2 guys is mainly the defensive end. Mm-hmm. I felt like you could kind of like convince me anyway of like any of these 3 guys was like the best offensive player, but I thought Donovan Mitchell was clearly the worst defensive player of the 3. Just smaller. I mean, he's hyper athletic, but like, I mean, we have seen him get absolutely roasted in the playoffs on defense multiple times, which like that comes with him like, you know, destroying on offense as well. Yeah, I think, I mean, you kind of laid out the whole thing. Like Donovan Mitchell is by far the best 3-point shooter. And I think it's important to say the most willing 3-point shooter of this group.
Well, Ant's pretty willing.
Yeah, Ant is willing. Ant is willing.
Unfortunately for him.
But also, I mean, Donovan Mitchell can get to the line really, really well. I mean, this is a guy that like I think could easily lead the league in scoring.
Yeah.
If everything was perfect around him. But yeah, it was just mainly the defense, and I think he has really great defensive infrastructure around him. And
yeah, that's what made it difficult with Edwards and Mitchell. Obviously, Edwards I think is a better like on the ball defender than Mitchell is, but like when it comes to like parsing out defensive metrics with these 2, it was tough because like Mitchell is always playing with like Mobley and Allen. Edwards is pretty much always playing with some, you know, combination of Reed or Gobert. But I do think it is important to remember as it compares to relating Mitchell to Edwards directly that like Mitchell played in this like similar team construct like in Utah and had like these same results and was a better offensive player than Ant is now.
You're kind of talking me into Mitchell over Edwards. I gotta be honest. Yeah, I mean, should we get into Anthony Edwards? This is the guy that like this is like our best offering to the like classic like young Kobe MJ mantle right here.
Yeah.
Just loves to attack the rim. 31% of his shots are coming at the rim. Last season, 37 in the 2 seasons before. And this is from a guy that, like, especially like coming into the last season, that's the book on him. It's like, he wants to get to the rim and there's nothing that you can do to stop him from getting there. His efficiency there like comes and goes throughout his career, but it shot up to 69% last year from 64% the year before, which, like, if he's able to sustain that, which returns have not been great at the start of the season for Anthony Edwards getting to the rim.
Ant, I think the real thing I have with Ant, and I just couldn't put Booker ahead of him after what happened in the playoffs. But I do think it is important to remember, but Edwards had more of an up and down playoff run than I think we all remember.
Absolutely.
Like, he had some duds. Like, the Game 7 they won against Denver, he shot the ball terribly. But like with Ant, what I haven't liked watching the Timberwolves so far is he's just falling way too in love with like early shot clock jump shots. I think he's a little too like full of himself, which I don't want to read into a Netflix show, but there's a little bit of like, I'm the man. And it's like, stop taking like a pull up 3 with like 18 on the shot clock when you haven't even tried to run a set yet.
Yeah, I mean, he really, even in the Phoenix series, which he played well in, he would come and go in like ways that you could really feel in the flow of the game, and that I think like risked some wins and losses in the balance for Minnesota in their playoff run last year. Defensively, obviously, like has all the tools to be like one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. I think on like a game-to-game standpoint, he can kind of get lost.
Yeah, he's one
sometimes.
of those guys that's like, if I'm telling him like, go, yo, Ant, I want you to just guard Tatum like your life depends on it for the next 10 possessions, it's like, cool, I can do that. But if it's like, all right, how about you go guard Desmond Bane and Desmond Bane's going to run off a million screens, it seems like, okay, you can get lost a little bit off the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So I
had Booker 3, Edwards 2, Mitchell 1, and I think putting them in any order is totally fine. I think they're all super similar players. I don't want to use this season too much, but obviously, Booker was disappointing in the playoffs last year, but Devin Booker's awesome. Like, he creates like mid-range attempts like crazy. He's super efficient at them. He's good playing in space. I think he's pretty good. I think the one thing is Booker's just definitely the least athletic of these 3 guys, which I think is weird. Devin Booker's an efficient rim finisher, but it always looks a little awkward when he attacks the rim.
Yeah, I mean, he's like definitely fearless when he goes to the rim. I mean, the reason I feel like last season, when you're looking at these 3 guys of any of their seasons last season, Booker's is the one that I would say like you kind of gotta like take with a grain of salt, because like, I think what Booker was asked to do last year, I don't think either one of these guys would be, or any of these guys would be really super equipped to do. They were asking Devin Booker basically to be the number 1 option, initiating all of the offense and with no defensive infrastructure behind them. So it's like you're letting the other team score like nearly every time. But he was still able, like he had incredible advanced stats last year, even for like a point guard, 29.9% assist percentage for like truly a guy who is a pretty classic 2 guard, is just super, super elite, would be in like the 100th percentile of like combo guards. He's always been a really good points per shot attempt guy, and he had his best season last year while ticking down the usage just a little bit. He's pretty good at drawing shooting fouls, not like doesn't always fall in love with getting there.
Yeah.
But I mean, the mid-range, he's a maestro. I think he's a little more scalable than these other 2 guys when it comes to like playing around stars. We saw that in Team USA. And, it's October 30th. Do you know what happens on October 30th?
I go to Spirit Halloween.
It's Devin Booker's birthday. I could not put Devin Booker number 1 on my list ever, but especially on his birthday. Happy birthday.
You have a
Devin
number 1?
Booker. Yeah.
And you have Edwards too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we both have Edwards too, and then we had Mitchell and Booker flipped. You know what's kind of funny about this top three? I kind of felt like there was like a weird rock, paper, scissors where I was like Mitchell over Edwards, Edwards over Booker, Booker over Mitchell. Like I kind of like I couldn't get over that in my head where I was like, I think I'd rather have Mitchell than Edwards.
See, but I'd
rather
feel
have
like
Edwards than Booker.
So much of that is the like, oh, like I can't put like Edwards over Booker. They just kick their ass in the playoffs, which I hear. But like, I mean, this is a guy in Devin Booker that played the championship Denver Nuggets team and averaged like 30 points a game on 56, 54, 87 shooting.
But what really like put Mitchell ahead of me is just like the efficiency is comparable, but Mitchell's playing on this like, what is going on with the lineup construction?
Dude,
whereas Booker's playing in this.
That's what the Suns were last year.
Booker's playing in this like hyper spaced out. Like he's got the best 3-point shooter last year was Grayson Allen,
who was hurt for the playoffs.
He's got Kevin Durant. It's just, but these are regular season numbers though. Like efficiency wise, like Mitchell's playing on like by far the worst offensive environment of these three guys.
No, I hear the argument,
and it's still he's just creating part for himself more, just as efficiently. I don't know. I also think his ability to just shoot threes off the pick and roll is just like kind of devastating.
No, yeah, I mean that is the one thing that like I think Suns fans have always said about Devin Booker is if he could, he's an efficient pull-up 3-point shooter, but he just
doesn't do it.
He doesn't like to do it.
Yeah,
it's
him
not,
and KD.
And we've seen a little like
more of it.
The Bud influence is simmering. It's seeping in. I'm hoping it sticks. We will see about that.
Yeah. All right. So that was our list. Very similar lists. Yeah, that top three, man, that was tough. Like, you know, for the point guards list and for everyone else on this list, I kind of like researched them individually, and I was like, okay, I'm going to move this guy up and move this guy down. I pulled up Mitchell, Edwards, and Booker on like 3 different tabs, and I just had them like across my screen, and I was just like, all right, let me write down all the numbers. I didn't even do like an individual for any of them. I just did them all as a grouping.
That's kind of what you had to do, because I feel like there is such a leap in those 3 guys versus everyone else that we've talked about on the list. And like, I mean, this list could have easily been like 15 players long of like people who you could maybe argue like
I think
belong in like the number 9 slot or the number 10 slot. It's a really weird time for 2 guards.
It is, because
pretty
NBA. Much all the hyper skilled 2 guards are moved up to the 1 guard spot.
Yeah, they're like, why don't you just have the ball always?
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like we kind of seen like why these 3 guys themselves aren't really used as 1 guards a lot of the time. It's kind of funny with Mitchell and Edwards, like they both played with Conley.
Yeah.
And that's what made like for me it kind of easier to put Mitchell ahead of Edwards, was just like, oh, Mitchell played on like a super similar team and had like the same results, but was like a better offensive player throughout that process, which is why I still. And also the Cavs were awesome last year. The Cavs are going to be awesome
really
again
good
this year.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, they're undefeated.
Yeah.
Going up for a slugfest against the Lakers.
Yep.
LeBron and LeBron Jr.
Oh, no. All right, should we get to best take, worst take?
Yeah, let's get to best take, worst take. I feel like there's no way you don't have this for your worst take, I got to say. Miami Heat?
Oh, yeah. You want to start with the best take?
We can start with best take, but I mean, the worst take is like burning a hole in my pocket right now.
Okay.
Who do you got for best take?
Okay, this is not to be political because I know it's election week, but I have Barack Obama.
Ooh.
Again, not political. He said, quote, "You've got to have more pride in the All-Star game."
There we go.
It's an insult to the game. He said that to Tyrese Halliburton. And I think every NBA fan can agree with Obama here that the All-Star game sucks and it needs to be better. And I like that he called out an All-Star to his face.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. My best take of the week goes to Joe Mazzulla. He's always giving us amazing quotes. And this last week he said, "The biggest thing that we rob people of from an entertainment standpoint is that you can't fight anymore."
I almost put this on
I wish you could bring back fighting. I just don't get why some sports are allowed to clear the benches. We just have a ball. The other sport has one of the hardest surfaces, a playing instrument, pucks, sticks. We're not allowed to throw down a little bit? I agree. Let them fight. Let's go. Let's get back to hyper physical NBA.
I think Darius Garland's like, dude, I already broke my jaw once. Please leave me alone.
I just there's nothing better than a Joe Mazzulla quote. If you ask me.
Joe Mazzulla is the great. Like people have been. I was having a discussion yesterday about like Reddick's starting to have some weird quotes, and I was like, don't put him on the Mazzulla realm. Like, he's not on the Mazzulla level. He's not close.
There's tiers to this.
There's tiers to this
kind of thing.
And Mazzulla's on his own tier, and then we had to vacate the 2 tiers below it because it'd be insulting to Mazzulla to put anyone within 1 tier of him.
Exactly.
So wait, what is your worst take?
It's the Miami Heat for approving
That statue.
the Dwayne Wade statue.
It's so bad. Well, Dwayne Wade approved it.
Then Dwayne Wade gets my worst take of the week. That thing is haunting. It looks like one of the White Walkers from Game of Thrones. Like, it looks like Thanos was like turned to stone by the White Witch. I can't think of how it could be anything worse. And then they asked the guy that made the thing, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, we're just limited by human hands." Why? Why are we limited by human hands? This is the same guy that made the Kobe Gigi,
Which is horrible.
statue. Which not
also
the
has
best.
errors
but
on it.
there's errors everywhere. This guy, did you not get like Microsoft Word with spell check? It's crazy.
Okay, here's my thing about the statues that I don't understand, because the Ronaldo one was really bad too, right?
But that one's just in a little airport in Portugal. This one is outside of the Heat's arena.
But my question though is like, so the Dwayne Wade one was bad. The Kobe one was bad. This little Ronaldo one that sits in an airport was bad. Why are statues so bad? Because when I go to the crypto.com arena, the Magic Johnson statue is excellent. The Shaq statue is amazing.
I feel like it's because they're doing it by hand still.
But like,
We
why
need to get
are
robots.
people's hands getting worse?
That's
what I want to know.
That's a great question.
Because like, you know what I mean, right? Like the other statues
No, they're good.
are good.
They
Like
look
the Michael
them.
Jordan statue at the United Center is pretty good.
I don't know. Maybe they're just like budget cuts. I can't answer this question, but I can't. I don't understand how it got approved. Or maybe they just wanted to go viral.
I don't know.
Is that a thing? They just wanted to like be. It seems very anti-Heat.
It is very anti-Heat to not go perfectionism.
Yeah.
My worst take was the National Basketball Association.
What did they do this time?
They gave Joel Embiid a technical foul for waving a flag or waving a towel. My bad. Joel Embiid stood up during an opposing team's free throw and waved a towel, and they gave him a technical foul after the game and fined him.
On the heels of their $100,000 fine for the team, Sixers.
Yeah, what's going on? All right. I feel like this was a weak week for worst takes.
It's not every week you get an absolutely terrible statue.
Yeah.
We're looking at you, Max. Just tell us which one. There we go.
Okay, so worst take of the week is going to be the Miami Heat approving the Dwayne Wade statue. All right, so now we have to nominate the worst take of the month, though. So we've got the Heat approving the Dwayne Wade statue. What are the other worst takes this month?
We also have Kenny the Jet Smith's top 50 ranking, where James Harden is at 14.
Okay, and Zion was at 41.
Yeah. And then Ben Simmons' fans' disrespectful comments will come back to haunt them.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. So the nominees are Ben Simmons, who said fans' disrespectful comments will come back to haunt them. We've got Kenny the Jet Smith, who, I don't know, he might have confused his ones and fours. He had 41 Zion, 14 Harden. And we have the Miami Heat approving the Dwayne Wade statue. I think Ben Simmons is the worst take of the month.
For threatening the fans of the NBA.
Threatening the fans
That's all?
with playing well and then proceeding to get injured again and not play well.
Not play well.
Did you see him pass open a wide open dunk again and it turned into a turnover?
No, I
didn't. You didn't see this?
I didn't see
Ben
this.
Simmons had a poke steal from behind and he gets the ball and he does this like weird like lay pass and it's like, Ben, you could have just dunked it over this tiny point guard who came to defend the play, like, or laid it up. Like he did the same thing he did against the Hawks.
Oh, it's really tough for me to say. James Harden has had a good week.
Yeah.
14.
And so is Zion though.
Yesterday's travesty.
Takes him back to 41.
where they lose to the Steph-less Warriors was pretty rough. I mean, I don't think
Maybe
he's
it was
41.
solely his month of October rankings.
Yeah, maybe. I hope that's what it was. For Kenny's sake. I don't know. I feel like the Kenny the Jet Smith one is just going to age worse and worse. So like I personally am leaning towards that one.
Okay, and I'm voting for Ben Simmons. Max, you're the tiebreaker. Max is thinking.
Yeah, I know
thinking.
you can't hear or see Max, but
Yeah, Max is
he's crunching the numbers
he's
right
Michaelis
now.
today.
Well, I'm tired of hearing about Ben Simmons, so I'm just going to give it to Kenny.
Okay, Kenny the Jet Smith.
There we go.
Makes it to the worst take of the month.
We got to get inside on here a couple times because this might be our last run with them.
Yeah. All right, so Kenny the Jet Smith is our inaugural winner of the 2024-2025 season for saying Harden at 14, Zion at 41. Also, you had LeBron at 2, right?
Yes, he did. That is not looking good. Let me tell you, I'm a little worried about LeBron.
Yeah, me too.
Gotta be honest.
I'm a little worried that LeBron can look like 2010 LeBron one night and then the next night look like 57-year-old LeBron.
Yeah, 28 LeBron.
Okay, we talked about this yesterday, but I feel like this has to be said as a massive LeBron homer. This is like the 4th time he's like tried to preserve his little 10-point streak that he has going on. LeBron is like the longest streak ever of consecutive 10-point games, which is, it's impressive. It's incredible. For example, Victor Wembanyama had only 8 points in his first game this season. It happens. The best of the best NBA players, they drop below 10, but like they could have won that game if LeBron played a little less like chasing his 10-point streak.
I don't think I have a little bit of a problem as like framing LeBron's performance as like he was chasing his 10-point streak.
Well, he was bad.
He was just not good.
Yeah,
but that 3 at near the end of the game, like they needed that.
They did need
like
that.
He wasn't like it wasn't garbage time. Like I've seen like on TikTok reels showing that, like saying like, oh, LeBron extends his streak, and I think it frames it for something that it wasn't. It was like the Lakers desperately needed that
did
3.
bring them to within 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, it was a really, really close game. But yeah, both games, especially against the Suns this season, who don't really have anyone to guard him, he just like completely like has faded into the background. It's like he's like 40 years old or something. No, but like, I mean, I guess speaks even more to the job JJ Redick has done this year in that like identifying, hey, we have prime Anthony Davis. we don't have to rely on LeBron. We have prime Anthony Davis.
Also, we've got the foul trouble top 8, Austin Reaves.
Yes, yeah, he's right there. D'Angelo Russell also might show up.
Yeah, LeBron at 2 is, I don't know. The Kenny the Jet one, it's just, we're going to have to remember all the things that are wrong with it, because I think by the time it's like February, we're going to be like, huh?
We can always bring it back up.
Yeah. Okay. Hot streak shooting slump.
Hot streak shooting slump. How's your week been, James?
Overall, I had a hot streak.
Okay.
I had a great chill weekend. What did I do on Saturday? Oh, I hung out with my friend Ty. I went to the USC Rutgers college football game. Went horrible for Rutgers, but got to tailgate with my friends. It was a lot of fun. Always love a good tailgate.
USC does a pretty decent tailgate
pretty
for
decent,
being in the
it's in
middle
like the
of Los
student
Angeles.
quads. It's actually really nice. Sunday, I just had a great chill day. Some fun football. The Commanders-Bears game. What a wild ending that was.
Crazy.
Been having fun watching basketball too. We've had a lot of great games, this NBA season. The only thing I got to give a shooting slump to my week, though, was yesterday I was squatting and I decided I think I'm not totally balanced. I'm going to move the bar over while I have it on me instead of re-racking it first. Totally tweaked my back and now I'm having back spasms. So hopefully that doesn't continue.
Yeah. I'll probably go a little bit of a shooting slump. Highlights of the last week were definitely those 2 Suns games where they beat the Mavericks and Lakers. Very much like highlights. I love to see it, but the fiance is a little sick right now, so she's trying to get better, but that's always sad, and we live together, and it's like, the thing of like, let's like, we can hang out, but we can't be too close to each other right now, which sucks. But Halloween is a coming. Excited for that. I don't, with the fiance situation, I'm not sure how lit our Halloween will end up being, but generally just like, how do you get through like a really stressful week of work? That's what I'm going through right now. It's like
Well,
it's
you're-
the predecessor to the insanely stressful week.
Because you're not a gamer.
No, I'm not really a gamer.
Not a gamer.
I've been playing more 2K lately,
Okay.
but it's hard, dude, when you live with your partner to like find the time, because it's like I don't see her all day. Get home, it's like, what am I gonna do? Play some video games, and like while you want to sit and watch me play some 2K, it'll be fun. I'll do a fantasy draft all time, keep the best. But it's just a hard sell, especially when I've got her on like a steady diet of like 2 NBA games a night.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, you're gonna have to compromise on your 2 NBA games a night, unless the 2 NBA games a night are your detox.
Yeah, it kind of is. When I'm not watching the Suns, when I am watching the Suns, it's just like this stress trot around the living room throughout the game.
Yeah. Well, maybe Patrick, one night we can join Max and we can do a de-stressing watching basketball together night.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. We can watch a good. I don't know what neutral teams there are anymore. We'll watch the. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Thunder.
Yeah, we all like the Thunder.
Yeah. We'll watch the Thunder.
Max, I know you don't have a mic today. Hot streak? Why are you on a hot streak? I'll relay it to people.
I had a great Halloween weekend with my pals. I'll just leave it at that.
Max got lit.
Oh yeah. No, I'll shout out Max. Max does this yearly like Halloween party short film screening show, and they had like 400 people there at this screening with like liquor sponsors and a taco truck. He was telling me all about it. It sounded incredible. Scream show? LA Scream? Silver Lake Scream Show. Look it up. Max is multi-talented, and you should support everything he does.
Yep. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Make sure to vote. Peace.